Hello, my name is Mike Davis-Marks and I'm the managing editor of the Veteran.uk and a director of Veteran Force. Welcome to an exciting new podcast series called The Veteran Voice, featuring veterans talking about their military experiences and what they did after their service, and in particular, how their transferable skills transferred from what they learnt during the military into their new civilian roles. It promises to be an exciting listen. Roll on.
Hi everybody, I'm Alan Spence. I'm the editor of the Veteran.uk and Veteran Force. I've got a wonderful guest with me today. His name's Mark Austin. He's Chief Executive Officer of Trinity Insurance Services. Mark, welcome to the programme.
Hi Alan, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Perhaps you could start by just saying a few words about your early years. I mean, you've had and continue to have a remarkable career post your service in the armed forces. But let's take it right back to the beginning. Why the armed forces?
Okay, well, I was brought up in the Far East. Actually, I was born in Sri Lanka, or Ceylon as it was back then, and went to school in Malaysia. So my early years were in that part of the world. When I came back to the UK, I wanted very much to go back to that part of the world when I started my working life. And I saw that the army was a good way of doing that. I'd been exposed to and was aware of the Brigade of Gurkhas while I was out in the Far East in Malaysia. And I felt that joining the Brigade of Gurkhas was a really good way of getting back out in that part of the world. But also being part of a fantastic organisation as well, which had a tremendous reputation and a really good outfit to join. So I very much focused in early in my sort of formative years at school in getting myself into that position.
For many, the Gurkhas have almost got a legendary status in the British Army. I mean, what is it about Gurkhas which you found so fascinating and wanted to be part of?
Well, one of the things that they are very much so is that they are incredibly professional. They're very proud of their traditions, very proud of what they do, and they're very keen within their own society and their own group to do as well as they possibly can. And, they all go out of their way to do that. And that makes them a really tremendous organisation to work with, because you're working on a daily basis with very enthusiastic people who want to do good by the people that they're working for, the organisation that they're part of. And I think that comes through in spades with Gurkhas.
And so just describe how your career with them evolved, if you could. I mean, geographically and events that you participated in.
Yeah.
Can you give some details on that?
Okay, so obviously when back in the 80s, when I was going through Sandhurst, one was interviewed by the regiment as you go through the course at Sandhurst, and I'd very much set my focus and objectives from getting into the Brigade of Gurkhas, and was lucky enough to be selected while I was at Sandhurst to go to the brigade. As I said, I was really keen to get to the Far East. So I was delighted when my first posting came through while I was at Sandhurst, which was in Church Crookham, about 4 miles down the road from Sandhurst. So my initial objective wasn't immediately met, shall we say. But I had a very interesting time while I was in the UK with the brigade. We were part of Exercise Lionheart, which was the biggest troop movement into Europe since the Second World War back in the early 80s. And then I did public duties at the Tower of London, which was a great honour to have done at that stage. And it wasn't long after then that we went. The whole unit moved back to Hong Kong, and we went to the Far East, which is where I was hoping to get to. And the early stages of a Gurkha officer's career, then as it is now, is to do the language course. And it's very important that you learn to speak the same languages as the soldiers speak, although they are all taught to learn English. But back then, not so many of them spoke terrific English. I think it's very different now. They all speak very, very good English. But we were very keen as young officers to learn the language and the culture and immerse ourselves into the unit and the life that we were leading with them there. And in Hong Kong, at the time, our main role, or one of the key roles, was to stop illegal immigrants coming across the border. So we would spend weeks on end up on the border, which was a lot of people imagine Hong Kong to be very urban, but up in the New Territories where we were on the border, it was very, very jungly, and it was an interesting time. Over the night, we would in our own units. I started commanding a platoon, and we would have about a 4 or 5 mile sector of the border where we were patrolling to catch illegal immigrants coming across the border, coming through the fence. We were also fortunate enough to from a soldiering perspective, do exercises in various other parts of Southeast Asia, and one of our specialities was jungle warfare. We would all go and do courses at the jungle warfare instructors course in Brunei, and then ply our trade in various jungles around Southeast Asia. So it was a pretty interesting time. And the great thing about that, again, we were immersing ourselves in the culture with the soldiers and enjoying working with them. Fairly early on, I had the opportunity to go to Nepal as a recruitment officer, and all young officers back then would get the opportunity to go on a trek around the villages where the soldiers came from, and that was another great way of really getting ourselves into the culture, learning the language, and really getting a feel for the troops and where they came from.
So there's very much a cohesive family feel about the Gurkha regiment.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we had very few British officers in a regiment of around about 700. In our battalion, in the 10th Gurkhas, where I was, there was probably only about 20 British officers or so, and the rest were Nepalese, and we all felt part of one big family. And once you join a regiment like that, you grow up with the other young officers and the other soldiers, and get that connectivity. You go through your whole career together and understand where they're going. I left the army 30 years ago now, but I'm still very much in contact with an awful lot of people that I'd served with, both British and Nepalese.
So coming to your transition experience, it must have been perhaps difficult to leave effectively a family behind.
Yes.
Even though you continue to be in close touch with them.
Yeah.
And you've still got many friends in the Gurkha Association and so on.
Yeah.
You left them, you were family. I mean, how did you feel about that? Was it an extra complication for you for transitioning?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, when I did leave, I was medically discharged. I was ill at the time. It's another story, but my the end to my military career was quite quick, in as much as I got ill and had to move on. And back then, so this was in the late 90s, the transition for military personnel into civilian life was not that easy, in as much as you were very much left to your own devices. So, it felt very much as a door closed on me as I was leaving. Obviously, I kept in touch with my close friends, and continue to do so now, as I already described. But from an institutional perspective, it was quite a jolt. I was very keen to make sure that I was going to prepare myself for civilian life. Being medically discharged, I was lucky enough to have some money put towards my development. So I went off and did an MBA at Edinburgh University, and immersed myself in business studies, so that I could be able to apply that into my civilian career and then the next move. But I very much didn't know what I wanted to go and do, or where that was going to take me at the time. And I do remember, while I was doing my degree up in Edinburgh, writing to a lot of companies, and being in the military, you have a perception that you go for the hierarchy, for the acceptance and the entry, and they will then direct you to the way that you should go. So I was writing letters to the likes of Bob Ayling in British Airways, and the top people in these organisations, who inevitably would either just send a very polite letter back saying not interested, or I'll put you in touch with somebody else lower down. And I was also, again, coming from the military, you want to present yourself in the best possible way. I would write letters explaining the level of experience that I'd had, the types of budgets that I was responsible for in the military, which, if you look at it on paper, was quite a lot. You get an awful lot of experience and a lot of responsibility at an early age when you're in the armed forces. So when you transpose that into civilian speak and put it in your CV and put it across to some of these recruitment departments in large organisations, back then there was an element of disbelief. They would, I remember one letter I got back from, I think it was British Airways actually, was if you have done what you say you've done and had the level of responsibility that you say you have, or we haven't got anything at that level. When actually I was trying to aim for below that. So, it was a difficult time to try and establish a foothold anywhere.
You ultimately focused on financial services.
Yes.
For armed forces personnel, and then increasingly as well, of course, veterans and their families.
Yes.
I mean, how soon did that come in the progress that you were making in the employment market?
Quite late, actually. To be fair, what I was very keen on when I left was, I had a young family at that stage, was to be able to support them, and I took the advice of one or two of my colleagues who had trod the path into financial services, and was told that a good way of earning money fairly quickly was to go into financial services. So that's where I went and became a financial advisor with the venerable Equitable Life, which sadly is no more, because it was a very, very good grounding, and the training was excellent. And I found myself as a financial advisor to a lot of senior legal people in London. You know, our office covered a lot of the Inns of Court and the chambers, barristers' chambers and the likes in central London. So that's where I cut my teeth in that trade. As I mentioned, the training in Equitable was particularly good, and I really related to the way the training was set up, because it was conducted by a lot of ex-military people, and it was very structured. And I quickly became a trainer within the organisation, because again, that was my military sort of
soft skills in action.
Yeah, soft skills in action, absolutely. And that was a way then to get into management in financial services. At the time, Equitable Life went through a bad patch and was bought by Bank of Scotland. So I became part of Bank of Scotland, part of their training. I managed a number of teams there, but then went off as a freelance trainer for a while. And one of the things that we were taught while we were in Equitable was the power of soft skills, as you describe, and that put us in really good stead, because an awful lot of financial services organisations were great on training technical skills and giving people all the wherewithal to be able to advise, but not necessarily the soft skills. And that's where being a freelance trainer at the time and basically running my own business, we were able to utilize some of the people that had come through that training to help train other organizations in the soft skills side of financial services, which at the time, there was not a lot of around. So it was a useful period.
I mean, Trinity Insurance Services operates in a relatively speaking small niche of the insurance market. You are a niche operator.
Yes.
I mean, how did that come about?
Well, I had spent nearly 20 years in financial services before I came to Trinity. And I came to Trinity very much with the expectation and the requirement to train their sales teams at the time and take on that side of the business. The business had been going for 20 years at that point, or just under 20 years, and had always been focused in on the serving personnel. And about a year after I arrived, my predecessor decided that he was going to retire, and our owners at the time turned around and asked me to take the business on, which was a great opportunity from my perspective, because it enabled me to broaden out the remit that I had, just previously focusing in on the sales, but running the business as a whole, which enabled us to take a look at what we were doing, understand that the financial services business was in a very finite pool. There are only a certain number of people in the armed forces. We have a number of competitors, and we're all fishing in the same pool. And we understood that in order to grow and continue to develop, there was a requirement to expand the market. And the obvious place to expand the market is with the veterans. And it was at that stage when I started to and involved with the board and started running the business, I was introduced to a character by the name of Bill Cooney, who was an ex-US Air Force fighter pilot and somebody who had been extremely senior in the USAA, which is a very large financial services organization in the States, which focuses in on service personnel and veterans. And they have grown themselves over many years, to become what is now a $42 billion revenue business. And that is purely through providing financial services to the armed forces community, from recruits right the way through to fully retired people who have been through the second career. And they did that with absolute focus, customer service focus on their diaspora, the people that they were aiming at. And Bill Cooney was absolutely passionate about this, and he was very passionate about setting up a similar organisation here in the UK that would be able to serve the armed forces community right the way through, and offer them and find the right deals with organisations like the insurers, the underwriters, and the like. Prove to them that that community is worth investing in and providing for, and being proud about the input that they have made to society.
So, is this your core ambition then, to replicate what Bill did in America, to do that here? I mean, I have to say that you did introduce me to Bill, and he doesn't want he didn't want. Sorry that he died quite recently.
Yes.
But I was delighted to get the opportunity to meet him, and to sense myself the great enthusiasm and drive and passion that he brought to the Colossus that he put together, and from the point of view of the service that it provided, and the way in which it was provided. So, I mean, is this something that will you think one day you'll stand in front of a door and you'll say, dedicated to the memory of Bill Cooney?
Yes, I mean, that's very much what we want to continue to build. Bill would be very, very pleased if we got to a position where we were seen as the go-to organisation for the armed forces, particularly when they leave. An organisation that is able to demonstrably prove that they support that community and get the best deal for them.
You and your close colleague Alan Richmond are very adamant about veterans being given, learning, imbibing financial education.
Yes.
Hopefully before they actually become veterans, so they know how to handle their own affairs, or they've got some good ideas at least of what the questions are.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a great credit to you. And do you feel that should feature increasingly in any offer that you make in terms of services?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even in the 7 or 8 years I've been involved now in the military insurance arena, what we have seen is that people are more reliant on being educated by technology rather than getting a group of people together in a lecture theatre somewhere. The armed forces, certainly the serving armed forces nowadays, just don't have time for that sort of thing. They are all rushed off their feet. They're less inclined to get their own troops and their own personnel in front of financial services. I think it's up to us as an industry, and certainly up to us as Trinity, to develop the ways in which we can educate people through this through social media, through technology. It's all available to us now. It's something that we can utilize and develop and help people understand what it is they need, and guide them in the right direction.
Can you just, for people listening, watching, give a description of just a broad brush description of the services that you provide at Trinity? Because it's sorry to interrupt, but your title is insurance services.
Yes,
but it's more than that, really, though, isn't it?
It is more than that, and increasingly we're hoping that it will become a lot more a broader offering over time. So at the moment we have a portfolio of our own general insurance products, so kid insurance and personal accident, travel insurance. We do service funds insurance for military units and their property, and paintings and silver and that sort of thing. And we provide a advice service for life insurance as well, and critical illness. So it's a fairly narrow band of product. We also have other products which are provided by third parties, like wedding insurance and motor and some travel as well, individual travel. But we want to broaden that out to a whole range of both general insurance and life products, and then further down the line, there are all sorts of other areas that we'll be able to help the community through banking and lending and mortgages and the like.
I mean, that's a good description, I think, from knowing a little bit about your company. And you also have what I suppose I would term a lot of outreach activities, don't you, in terms of sport that you sponsor, and in that way, you are of course a big sponsor, for which we're very grateful, of the veteran.uk. You are an advisor to the veteran.uk.
Yeah.
And you've just become an ambassador to Veteran Force. And for listeners, Veteran Force is about mobilizing military veterans as the backbone of small grassroots communities to do good in society at a time when our community relations, our societal resilience is not at good levels. There are, in actual fact, at historically low levels. And of course, TV UK, the veteran.uk, is all about generically promoting veterans into long-term sustainable employment. Now, you have given of your time and your efforts to the veteran and to Veteran Force, as I say, for which we're very grateful. What do you think, though, and speaking honestly, we can take it, I mean, that they're adding to the situation from the point of view of veterans? I mean, what do you think the advantages of these are?
Well, firstly, yeah, we're
if you've got any criticisms, I'm very happy to listen to them on air.
Well, firstly, we really are keen to be seen to support the initiatives that come from the veteran.uk and Veteran Force. It's part of the overall elements that Trinity will continue to develop as we grow as a business. We want to be seen to be supporting organisations such as yours in as many ways as we can. It's part of our raison d'etre. what veteran.uk is very, very good at is helping people become aware of the skills that they have having been in the armed forces, and how they can transpose those skills into civilian work, and get the opportunities that their experience warrants. They all deserve to, having served their country. They all deserve to have an opportunity, and a good opportunity when they leave. And I think veteran.uk does a great job in helping them really understand how that can be done through the case studies that you have in the magazines and online.
Mark, it's been a great honour to have you on this podcast.
Thank you very much.
I think that we've covered a lot of ground there. Is there anything else that you'd like to add at all?
No, I mean, all I say is that we will continue to develop together. It's very much a partnership, and we're looking forward to working with you.
And we're looking forward to working with you too.
Brilliant.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much indeed, and very, very best wishes for creating the legacy of Bill Cooney's American venture.
Thank you.